IVM.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerged from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, I take you to Armenia and talk about how one can uncover the cultural changes of a young nation merely by looking at its banknotes. On the night of December 25th, 1991, at 7:32 p.m. Moscow time, Mikhail Gorbachev left the Kremlin. The Soviet flag was lowered and the state anthem of the Soviet Union was played for the last time. The Russian tricolor was raised in its place at 11:40 p.m., symbolically marking the end of the Soviet Union. It was a mere formality though, as most republics had already ceded from the USSR and declared independence. One of the most iconic images from the time came from Vilnius in Lithuania. On September 1st, 1991, in the center of the Lithuanian capital, the people toppled the statue of Russian leader Vladimir Lenin. In the most everyday manner, one could see a young Lithuanian girl sitting atop the statue, just as Lithuania became the first republic to declare independence. All the new republics had their task cut out. Right from foreign policy to international trade to printing their own currency had to be done from scratch. Amongst the newly formed republics was the Republic of Armenia, an ancient country with a rich cultural heritage. In fact, one of the lesser known facts about Armenia is that it boasts of having found the world's oldest winery and even the world's oldest shoe. But Armenia has had a checkered past. It declared the first republic way back in 1918, but that came on the back of Turkey-sponsored Armenian genocide. Today it boasts of the highest per capita of chess grandmasters, but recently faced defeat against Azerbaijan in the Nagorno-Karabakh war. In early 1991 though, it had the very real challenge of printing its own currency. As the central bank was established in 1993, it issued its first set of notes and established the currency, the Armenian Dram. But who did they feature on these notes? On the 10 Dram note, they featured the statue of David of Sassoon, the hero of the 8th century Armenian epic, Daredevils of Sassoon. Today, if you visit Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, you can find the statue at the railway station square. On the 50 Dram note, it features the National Gallery and the History Museum of Armenia. In increasing order of value, the notes feature Mount Ararat, long considered the symbol of Armenia, even though it's located in present-day Turkey. They feature Mashrop Mashtots, who in the 4th century AD invented the Armenian alphabet. On the highest denomination note, the 5000 Dram note, features the Garni temple, built in the 1st century AD and is the best known structure and symbol of pre-Christian Armenia. If you notice carefully, each of these depictions hark back to the origins of an ancient nation. Each monument or personality depicted date back at least 1,000 years. It is emblematic of a new nation trying to carve out its identity. A nation which has just broken from the behemoth that was the USSR, needed to stand out and showcase a unique identity of its own. Simply put, Armenia was going through a period of hot nationalism, a narrative that focuses on blood and belonging. By 1998 though, the Armenian nation had become stable. And as the central bank brought out new notes, they came with a radical redesign. Gone were the ancient heroes of the Armenian Republic. Gone was the jitteriness of a newly formed country. Armenia by then had well assimilated into the world economy, and the banknotes reflected that. Armenia was ready to celebrate the triumph and richness of its culture. It featured the Armenian composer and conductor Aram Khachaturian, who created the famous ballet composition Gayane, a part of which incidentally was featured in the director Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. It features Viktor Ambarsumian, considered to be the father of theoretical astrophysics in the Soviet Union and a national hero of Armenia. The list goes on. It featured the national poet and the founder of the Armenian school of painting, amongst others. The key difference here was that all of these were contemporary artists from the 20th century. A rapidly modernizing Armenia had shed its reliance on its haloed past to celebrate its cultural heroes. In 2018, on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the Armenian Dram, the central bank issued a third series of banknotes. On them featured an even more diverse set of people. Komitas, the founder of the National School of Music and considered the founder of the field of ethnomusicology. It features Ivan Avizoski, considered to be the greatest master of marine art. But most interestingly, it featured Tigran Petrosyan, the world chess champion from 1963 to 1969. It almost felt that Armenia wanted to stamp its authority on a game it had been wildly successful at. With the third series of banknotes, Armenia had moved into a space of banal nationalism, where its famous people became everyday symbols of the nation. One of my sharpest learnings in over a decade of travel is how much meaning and symbolism everyday things hold. What is merely paper money to most is to a few a story of a cultural and nationalistic awakening of a young nation. As Michael Prouse said, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Memory on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors very quickly this week, thewholetruthfoods.com, Storytel, and Seat. We really do appreciate your support. And we had a great week on the network this week, so tune in for some sweetness with our hosts Sadaf and Archit as they hone their sweet tooth and talk about candies. The famous, the healthy, the traditional, and international. Check out Naan Curry, you'll enjoy it. On last week's episode of The Note, Maruk and I spoke to TV presenter and columnist Veer Sanghvi, who analyzed the 2 years of the second term of the Modi government. As China and India signed the disengagement agreement along the LAC, Lieutenant General Dr. Prakash Menon and Manoj Kewalramani joined Suyash Desai to discuss the process and the consequences it will have on the nation and in world politics. Dr. Anton Harder joins Hamsini Hariharan on States of Anarchy to discuss India's right to a seat at the United States Security Council. Ashton Doctor talks about duty, how individually it binds us and how as a society it is liberating. Check out the Habit Coach with Ashton. Every day, great show and great fun to listen to that. On Football Show to All the Boys, talk about their loves and sorrows for teams and their current ranks in the world of football. And also do remember to check out Cyrus Says. We had a great week last week. We had Amol Mazumdar, the ex-cricketer. We had Rocky and Mayur. And we did the Valentine special with Aisha and Kunal. Great fun. Do check it out. I'm sure you will enjoy that. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset and everything sport.
So tune in to the Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.